This is Binghamton Now on News Radio 1290 WNBF Binghamton and WNBF.com.
I'm Bob Joseph. This is Binghamton Now for Monday, July 1st, 2024. The 3-hour edition. Plenty of calls, plenty of information. We'd like you to participate on News Radio, WNBF. WNBF! 607-772-1290. We'll take as many calls as I'm able to fit in to our convenient 3-hour broadcast. And welcome back as we start. This is the second half of 2024. What happened to the first half? It seemed to go by quickly. And the second half may also go by quickly, so don't blink. There will be a lot happening. Do not be alarmed by the rapid pace of local and national news developments. There could be bulletins. When you hear a bulletin, there's no reason to be unduly concerned. Just pay attention to the information. But, this is going to be perhaps the most exciting 6 months in American history. That's the way it's shaping up. I see Steve Bannon has to report. Yeah, I'm not kidding. You're saying, but Bob, why does anyone care? Well, he used to work closely with a top official in the federal government, and he is set to report to prison. So he's the first White House official in decades to do so. That's according to ABC's Aaron Katersky, who is outside the prison in delightful Danbury, Connecticut.
Not since Watergate has a former White House official of this stature been sent to prison, but today, Steve Bannon is going to report here to this low-security federal lockup to begin serving a 4-month sentence for contempt of Congress.
Low security. How low can they go? So, let's see if Steve Bannon has any thing to say for himself as he reports to a low-security facility. So, we'll be providing housing for Steve Bannon. That's your tax dollars at work. Steve Bannon. Soon we'll be off the streets and off the air. Let's take a call and see what the public has to say. Morning, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm Colleen from West Windsor.
Morning.
I'm calling about... Good morning. I really like your radio station, and I'm just calling in support of Joe Biden because everybody is, due to the situation with the debate on how he presented himself, he's still an honest man. It is for the people of the United States, and I don't know why the Republicans, forget how Donald Trump is for himself, and he is not for the people, only for the rich. And I just wanted to throw it out to you guys today.
So do you think that Joe Biden can lead the Democrats on to victory on November 5th?
I really do in my heart, because right now it would not be good to put someone else in, because they really don't know him, but he just had a down day. I didn't like what I saw. I watched the debate, but I support him because he's honest. He is for us, not against us, and it upsets me how the Republicans forget dealing with the crime that Donald Trump has done, and that the COVID, which was only like 3 years ago, which was a real wipeout for our country, but he brought us back in. They'd so forget they were getting money mailed to them and to help them pay their bills, etc. And I just wanted to put my 2 cents in.
One other question. Do you think that a lot of people, of course, Republicans, were going to figuratively kick Biden whether he did well or not in Thursday's debate, but do you think a lot of people, independents and Democrats, are just kicking the guy when he's down?
Yes, because to me, it was a bad day. I thought he should be arrested more. And yes, he is older, but Donald Trump is also 78 years old, and he slurs his words when he talks, meaning Donald Trump, but they forget about all the downs that he does just to go against a democracy. I look at what Donald Trump is doing.
Appreciate your call. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you so much for your radio station to allow us to speak our piece. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And everybody is welcome. I'm hearing more and more that Democrats, if, this is a big if, I don't think we can jump to any conclusions yet, but if it becomes necessary to change candidates, and there is time between now and the Democratic convention in Chicago, that some people are seriously considering supporting Andrew Cuomo. Now, that might not be a popular choice in New York State, where New Yorkers know who the guy is, but in 49 other states, many people are saying Andrew Cuomo carries a lot less baggage than other potential Democratic candidates. So, bottom line is, if Andrew Cuomo happens to lead the ticket, possibly with Gretchen Whitmer, that would be a ticket that would be difficult, I think, for the Republicans to beat in the key states. And doesn't matter about Andrew Cuomo's unpopularity in New York State, the fact that he resigned in disgrace. New York State will vote for the Democratic ticket. I'm not talking about upstate New York. I'm talking about the state in general, because the state is controlled by New York City. So they could put on Andrew Cuomo and Gretchen Whitmer, and that would be a powerful, powerful ticket, I think. I think Andrew Cuomo would do a great job debating Donald Trump in September. I would pay up to $10 to watch that. It's 9:19 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning there, Bob. It's Dave from Vestal. Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. So what do you say about these Democrats who suddenly are raising the prospect that Andrew Cuomo could be their party's nominee?
I don't think that'll happen, Bob. But, I got to tell you, first thing in the morning, when I heard this lady commenting about Biden being an honest man, my coffee just came out my nose, Bob. I just had to clean up here. I cannot believe I heard that. He lies constantly, Bob. He lies.
It's not a question when it comes to presidential candidates. It's not a question, does the presidential candidate lie? It's a question of how many lies per minute do they tell. So if you look back, and nobody, as far as I know, during last Thursday's debate actually published the statistics of lies per minute, LPM, between the two candidates. So now some would argue, because Joe Biden clearly was not on his game last Thursday, it was more difficult for him to lie than the Republican candidate, because that guy came out, I don't know if they gave him a jab in the butt or, if he was just drinking Moxie Plus, but that Republican candidate, the presumptive nominee, apart from what he was saying, apart from the topicality, that guy was powerful. And not only powerful, presenting a remarkable image, but he also was uncharacteristically restrained. So he managed to thread the needle. So a lot of people who were unimpressed with his public pronouncements in the past had to have been somewhat taken aback. I mean, not so much that he was self-confident and self-righteous and just able in many cases, not every case, but to string together complete sentences, which sadly the presumptive Democratic nominee was having difficulty speaking more than 2 or 3 words at a time. But, in terms of lies, does any or has any presidential candidate in our lifetime always told the truth?
You're right there, Bob. They haven't. But, it's more that Biden, he made Trump look real good. He made him shine. And more than...
Oh, here's something I just thought about. Do you think that actually if Biden and the family, the Biden crime family, as Hannity would call them, the Biden crime family, you think that maybe Republicans or the Trump campaign actually paid them like $10 million for him to throw the debate?
No, Bob, but you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because that's part of honesty right there. The Biden crime family shaking down.
But they both have crime families. If you're using, and again, that's a construction that Hannity likes to use. I personally don't like it, but if one is to apply that terminology to the Biden family, many people have used that sort of terminology to apply to the Trump family, and not just Trump, but even who's the kid that married Jared, not the guy from Subway, the other Jared who married Ivanka. I mean, look at some of his dealings. So some people, and again, I'm not among them, but some people have suggested both families could be called crime families if you don't like what they do.
Their deals are legal, Bob. Biden's are fraud.
No, there's only been one. There's only one candidate who's been convicted of 34 counts of fraud. And you're talking, you can't talk about fraud in a presidential race in 2024 without pointing to the guy who was convicted of nearly 36 felony counts of fraud, my friend.
Okay, Bob, you might as well have taken 12 people from the Democratic House, from the Democrats, and put them in the jury box. Same thing. So you can't count it.
Oh, he's always a victim, no matter what happens. I'm a victim. Oh, my gosh. This guy is luckier than 99.8% of all Americans. This guy is the luckiest guy currently alive, I think, because virtually nothing he does, he's held accountable for virtually nothing. That's why they called him the Teflon Don, because he can say stuff to Billy Bush on the bus that if I said it, it'd get me fired. If you said it, you'd be run out of Vestal on a rail. If they had rails. You'd be run out of Vestal on the rail trail. If you said that sort of thing, what he said to the Billy Bush on the bus, you would have to leave Vestal.
And you know what, Bob? You probably hear that stuff every day. He just got caught.
I didn't say that stuff isn't said every day. He said, actually, it was Melania, I think, who advised him to say it was locker room talk. Yeah, you hear that in locker rooms at some of the worst places. If you go to locker rooms at the best places, you hear talk generally about, that Binghamton Now program is one fine broadcast. You rarely, and again, there are all types of locker rooms, some that deal in even worse language, to be honest.
That's true, Bob. You're right there. But I don't want to hear any more how honest Biden is. Please don't call in and do that. Just don't do that.
Hey, it's all relative. Again, the Washington Post, apparently their liometer got broken or somebody forgot to plug it in last Thursday night. So maybe they could fire it up and roll the tape and see who actually had the most lies per minute last Thursday. And it pains me to say that it likely wasn't Biden, because throughout most of the public portion of the debate, his presentation was very halting, very baffling. So I don't think he was capable, even if he wanted to tell lies. I don't think he was even capable of constructing simple lies. Simple white lies were impossible last Thursday for the lad.
No, he did, but it's just that Trump looked better lying than
Well, he's had more experience. He looked better. Is that what it's about? Perception? Come on, man. And I do not condone dishonesty when it comes to politics. Because, in my opinion, honesty is the best policy. But then again, it's politics, and it's not limited to politics in the USA today. Politics everywhere. You can't tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. The only time you got to do that is when you're talking to federal agents. Here's the thing, and this applies to both Joe Biden and Donald Trump, as well as you and me. If you are ever interviewed by an FBI agent, there's only one thing to remember. If you speak at all, tell the truth. The truth shall set you free. But if you lie to an FBI agent, you're in big trouble. And actually, it applies if you lie to any federal agent, not just the FBI, but the USDA or the FCC or the TSA. Do not lie to the federal agents, or prepare to face the consequences. On the other hand, if you're on cable news doing an opinion show from 8 to 11 p.m., you can say pretty much whatever you want. You're not under oath. As Hannity, I think, or his attorney once indicated in the court of law, a lot of his fans understand that a lot of what is transmitted on the broadcast is not necessarily the truth. It's entertainment. It's entertainment. That's entertainment. 928, Bob Joseph live at News Radio, WNBF, 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, streaming at WNBF.com.
News Radio 1290 WNBF. Candyman. Hey, Candyman.
All right, everybody, gather around. The Candyman is here. Now, what kind of candy you want? Sweet chocolate, chocolate malted candy, gumdrops, anything you want. You've come to the right man because I'm the Candyman.
Woo. I'll take a Valo milk. Thank you. It's 9:32 WNBF Live with Bob Joseph. Steve Crudy joins us now from Fuddy Duddy's in Owego. Good morning.
Good morning, Bob. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Sammy Davis with the original.
Yeah, you can't get much better than that. Everyone loves candy. And they love the Candy Man because he mixes it with love.
And makes the world taste good.
Thank you so much. Anyway, I know you're going to be busy because I believe the store will be opening in about 30 minutes. So appreciate your taking a few minutes to chat with us. Some interesting news for people in Owego and, dare I say, people in Binghamton, people in Tioga and Broome counties. I think are going to be interested in what you've been up to over the last couple of weeks.
Yes, and what took place for us in the last couple weeks takes me back all the way to the 1970s when I was a young boy and my mom and dad would pack me in the car during the Christmas holidays and take me to downtown Binghamton, to Fowler's and to Phil's gift shop for our Christmas holiday shopping, which would always end up at the peanut store, filling up with our favorite bags of fresh roasted peanuts and cashews and almonds, and it was such a treat to do that. And fast forward to today, and obviously we, like a lot of people, were very saddened to learn that one of our favorite stores in downtown Binghamton, one that has been there for close to a century, M&DR Nuts, which took over from the original Planters Peanuts, was sadly closing their doors. And I'd been fortunate to have had a long-standing friendship with David Bradstreet, the current owner of the store. And, I always admired what he had been doing in keeping the tradition of the store alive. But I said, David, if there ever comes a time when you decide you need to wrap things up, please keep us in mind to carry on your tradition. And we are very fortunate that we were able to acquire many of the pieces from M&DR Nuts, including the most prominent original Planters peanut roaster, which has been in service for 100 years, and several other objects from the store. And once we get into our new building on Front Street in Owego, we will be putting that peanut roaster back to work.
Well, that's some good news. I was intrigued the last few times that I stopped by the shop here on Court Street to just see up close the roaster. And as you say, it's been in use for about a century, and they're really, based on what I understand and from talking with Mr. Bradstreet, there are very few of these left anywhere in the world.
They are very few, and they are highly collectible. I know several people in the Southern Tier region who still collect them and operate them, but like you said, they're few and far between. And I believe David might have mentioned to you that when Planters Peanuts were closing the stores, they were ordering the shop owners to actually destroy them so that the technology could not be transferred on to future owners. So you're right, they are highly collectible. As a matter of fact, I recently watched one go up for auction, completely refurbished, that sold for over $125,000.
It's remarkable. And it was that proprietary technology, even though it was a century old, but the company, Planters, was very, very proud of the technology it developed, its unique process for roasting peanuts, and certainly, as David Bradstreet pointed out, they wanted, even though they weren't going to continue in that line of business with their own roasters, they didn't want the so-called competition getting hold of the technology that they perfected, that they developed.
And you know what? They did it right. 100 years later, they're still working great.
It's incredible. The other thing is, and you mentioned this to me when you sent me a note, these things are, we'll say, heavy. Very heavy. I don't know if you have an estimate of how much that roaster weighed, but you pointed out to me that getting it from the shop here on Court Street in downtown Binghamton was certainly a challenge.
It certainly is, Bob. It's the machine weighs probably 500 to 600 pounds. It is solid cast iron, and it took 4 rather large men to transfer it from the store into my pickup truck, where it now currently resides because I haven't been able to get it off.
Stuck there for the time being. So you obviously, as you mentioned, you have childhood memories of the shop on Court Street. I have a few. I unfortunately never made it to downtown Binghamton very often as a kid, but I have some vague memories of stopping by the peanut shop, and certainly I did a lot of research, looking up old newspaper articles and ads to get a sense of the history of that nut shop that had been at that specific location at 45 Court Street for, I think, about 85 years. And for a few years before that, it was located just a couple doors down. So it really was a fixture. I guess that qualified as the longest running business, although under a series of different names. But it was something that had been part of this neighborhood for very close to a century.
Yes, and obviously, since they're not able to keep that original location open, we are very proud that we're able to keep the equipment in the Southern Tier and keep it operating. There are a few iconic pieces in our area that have that long-lasting memory in people's minds. One is the original popcorn makers from Philadelphia sales. People still talk about that, and the memories that emote from going in their store and smelling that fresh popcorn being made, and our new peanut roaster will certainly carry on that tradition. And that's something that, we consider ourselves to be custodians of history. We're looking to carry on the traditions that people remember in our area through our new buildings. We're restoring 2 row houses on Front Street in Owego that predate the Civil War, and we're taking care of what people remember in our area for the next generation, and doing this with the Planters Peanuts Company and the roaster and keeping that tradition going is something that we really enjoy doing.
So tell us a little bit about that project on Front Street. Where do things stand now as far as moving forward and developing what should be a very special, not just a business, but an attraction for the village of Owego?
Well, certainly. 2 years ago, my wife Kim and I purchased 2 row houses in historic downtown Owego, formerly known as the Hand of Man, which was the last business that currently occupied that space. But the buildings themselves go back to the 1840s, so they are older than the Civil War, and they have been one form of retail business continually since that time. We are very fortunate to have received a Restore New York grant for $1.8 million to help bring those buildings back to life. And we will be investing over $1 million ourselves into turning it into our future candy and confectionery store. We're about 2 years in the process, and all of the architectural drawings are now complete. We've had a few little setbacks during our development, and as many people may know, the business climate is a little challenging right now with very high interest rates for getting loans, and so these are the things we're trying to navigate right now. But we're hoping to have the store open in the first quarter of next year.
That's exciting. It's exciting. You and your wife have run Fuddy Duddies now for about 5 years.
That's correct. This August 1st will be our 5-year anniversary.
Well, congratulations. I know so many people, whether they live in the village of Owego or just when they're visiting the heart of downtown Owego, enjoy stopping in and also patronizing some of the other small locally owned businesses. It's a wonderful climate, that business district, and a lot has been done just over the last couple of years in moving things forward. And I know there are other projects aside from your project on Front Street that are in progress or about to be launched.
Yes, there are many. We had a wonderful DRI project that came through a few years ago, and many of those projects to restore many of the local storefronts are coming to fruition right now. So as we consider ourselves still to be the coolest little small town in America. There's lots to see, lots to do, and it's just fun walking around this quaint little village.
Steve Crudy of Fuddy Duddies in the village of Owego, thank you very much for joining us this morning and sharing the news that some aspects of M&D Are Nuts here in Binghamton will live on now that you've acquired the roaster and some of the other things that were a key part of that business.
Bob, thank you so much for the time this morning, and as you know, we'll always keep an ice-cold Moxie in the fridge box for you.
Yeah, it's always nice to know if I'm in need, I can pop in and get my pop.
Thank you so much, Bob.
Take care. It's 9:43 at WNBF Live and Local. We're here serving the community. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, and my whole mission is to share as much of the things that are happening around our Binghamton area, Broome and Tioga counties, and some of the surrounding areas. So if you keep an eye on our website, WNBF.com, we've got a few business-related stories that you'll see this week that you're not going to see elsewhere. So WNBF.com, and also on air at 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, and streaming at WNBF.com. Do you have thoughts about stuff? Well, Call our thought line at 607-772-1290. I'm Bob Joseph. This is Binghamton Now.
WNBF.
WNBF Sweet Radio, 92.1 FM, 1290 AM. Stay connected with us using the fine WNBF app. The weather, in a word, is beautiful. Mostly sunny today. High 75, clear tonight, low 51. Sunny tomorrow, high 83. Mostly sunny Wednesday, high 85. On the 4th of July, partly sunny, high 88. Right now, it's 61 in downtown Binghamton, and that is 16 Celsius. For those of you who have your Celsius conversion charts, you know that. That's what we need to put out. Celsius conversion charts. Yep. I worked at a radio station a few years ago, and they thought they were at the forefront of the Celsius revolution, so they thought it would be clever to print up something like 5,000 or 10,000 Celsius conversion charts to encourage their listeners to learn the beauty of Celsius. So they printed up all these hideously colored charts. It was on yellow cardboard stock with kind of Cheeto orange ink. And I don't know. I think they printed up a lot. I never heard how many, but we'll say they must have printed up thousands of these Celsius conversion charts. So even people before the internet could figure it out how to convert Fahrenheit temperature to Celsius. So despite their best efforts, I think they put the Celsius conversion charts in stores, and you could stop by the radio station, pick up, take as many as you want. You think afterwards it was, I don't know. I think they managed to distribute about 15 or something. It never really gained any traction because can't speak for the rest of the country, but around here people had approximately zero interest in using Celsius. So I know it's a lost cause, but doesn't mean it doesn't make sense. I think it's more a case where Americans think our system of keeping track of temperatures just fine, so let's not align ourselves with the rest of the world because, well, just because, not because of any reason, just because. It's 9:50 at WNBF. That's 9:10 Celsius. Let's see. Oh, Jesse from Wego says, when are you going to taste test the banana cream soda? I would have asked Steve if I knew that he was going to call in, if he's going to purchase some cases of that. I'm sure it would sell very well. Jesse, I think I will plan. Notice I'm wording this very precisely. I think I will plan to taste test the banana cream soda that I acquired at the Strawberry Festival. I think I will taste test it on Wednesday, on Independence Day Eve. So that's my present plan. We'll see. I can't be sure, but I think that's it would be timely. Banana soda. Looking at WNBF.com, they say this is Bobby Bonilla Day. So for those who celebrate, happy Bobby Bonilla Day. Looking at some of the other headlines here at WNBF.com. Upstate New York, the birthplace of Uncle Sam. Here's another headline. Upstate New York Lake, named the cleanest in America. Discover the top 5 celebrity landmarks in New York State. And anonymous donor spreads kindness with free meals in Binghamton. So those are some of the items that are now available for your perusal. WNBF.com. It's 9:52. Getting back to this crisis, it's whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or an independent or whatever, even if you don't care about politics, you have to admit this country is in the middle of a serious leadership crisis. You can't candy coat it. I mean, you saw and you heard the reality. So, and by the way, the good news about, if there is to be any good news taken away from last Thursday's debate, for all the people, and there were a lot of people, including many people who listened to this program, for all the people who thought the CNN News Channel had rigged the whole thing, I mean, clearly, it wasn't rigged. If it was rigged, it never would have gotten on the air. They would have found some reason. They would have concocted some excuse. A backhoe in Paramus, New Jersey, cut through some fiber optic lines, so we weren't able to transmit the video from the debate studio in Atlanta. So they would have come up with some sort of excuse. If CNN really was on anyone's side, I mean, clearly, CNN is just a news channel. And by the way, America's oldest news channel. The original news channel, CNN News Channel. So, they weren't on anyone's side. Especially after, say, the first 10 seconds. If they were on someone's side, they could have put up one of those slides and said, please stand by, technical difficulties. And then they could have, if they were on someone's side, they could have Wolf Blitzer come out with tears running down his cheek saying, oh, my gosh, we've had a power failure or some other hard-to-believe cover story. So if they cared, I think in the long run, people will look back at last Thursday and say, that was a blessing in disguise for everybody concerned. I'm saying for the Biden campaign and even for his family, for the Trump campaign and his family, for America, for the world, because finally, after all these years, we got to see a bit of the reality. So even CNN, even if they were in theory on the side of one candidate or the other, hey, the camera and the microphones don't lie. And a conspiracy theorist might say, actually, some Democratic operatives may have set this up on June 28th for the express purpose of finding someone who is capable, not only capable of defeating the presumptive Republican candidate, but also capable of running the country for the next 4 years. So trust me, in the years ahead, there'll be some interesting books written about what's gone on over the last 6 months. And some people will probably exaggerate or lie just to sell books, but still, it's going to be fascinating to read some of the behind-the-scenes accounts of what's been going on at the White House over the last 6 to 12 months, because they've certainly got a story to tell. It's 9:56. I'm Bob Joseph. You're listening to Binghamton Now on WNBF.
This is News Radio 1290 AM, WNBF Binghamton. Now on 92.1 FM, W221 EJ Binghamton, a Town Square media station.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. This is the Supreme Court's final day of the term, and the justices will hand down a critical decision this morning on whether former President Donald Trump has immunity from actions related to the January 6th riot. President Biden's family gathered at Camp David over the weekend, urging him to stay in the presidential race and keep fighting despite last week's dismal debate performance. Here's ABC's Rachel Scott.
Biden's campaign team making it clear that the president will not step aside, telling allies in a memo obtained by ABC News that Biden got off to a slow start, but then drew a sharp contrast with Trump on the issues that matter most to voters, and arguing to supporters that if Biden were to drop out now, it would lead to weeks of chaos, internal food fighting, and a highway to losing to Donald Trump. Some of Biden's top allies insisting one bad night will not derail his campaign.
Hurricane Beryl has re-strengthened into an extremely dangerous Category 4 hurricane in the Caribbean. Maximum sustained winds 130 miles an hour. This is ABC News. North Korea firing 2 ballistic missiles this morning.
This comes just 2 days after South Korea, the U.S., and Japan finished their trilateral drills in the region. North Korea strongly denounced the joint drill through a statement on Sunday, accusing it of hindering security on the Korean peninsula. Monday's test fire was a second attempt in 1 week, following the failed launch last Wednesday. South Korean military immediately detected and surveilled the missiles and is analyzing details according to Seoul's Joint Chiefs of Staff. Ha-kyung Kate Lee, ABC News, Seoul.
One of the missiles is believed to have failed and landed near the capital, Pyongyang. Defense officials have confirmed several U.S. military bases in Europe are under a heightened state of alert. Bases moved to Force Protection Condition Charlie, the second highest level over the weekend. Officials say the change is in response to an incident or the likelihood of a terrorist action, but they've not revealed any details. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
Sneezing, coughing, stuffy nose, runny nose, postnasal drip, interrupted sleeping. I was groggy at the end of the day.
Allergies and sinus congestion were making Jana miserable. Then, a friend recommended Navage. Navage provides immediate drug-free congestion relief, flushing your nasal passages with refreshing saline and sucking out mucus, germs, and other airborne irritants. Navage helps you breathe easier, sleep better, and feel your best right away.
Navage gave me instant relief. I didn't have to wait 30 minutes. I didn't have to wait an hour, 90 minutes. I didn't have to wait a minute. I ran the rinse and I felt better.
Stop suffering from congestion and start breathing and feeling your best again with Navage. Navage.
I've had people ask me how I find relief, and I tell them Navage immediately. This thing is amazing.
Navage is available at Navage.com or at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS.
Where news breaks first. News Radio 1290 WNBF. This is News Radio 1290 WNBF News. Mostly cloudy today, then gradually becoming sunny with a high near 75. Clear skies for tonight, low around 51. Tuesday should be sunny with a high near 83. According to Spectrum News, a plane with 5 people on board crashed in Delaware County Sunday afternoon. The report notes that a single-engine plane out of Oneonta went down around 2 p.m. near Sydney, according to the FAA. The plane was apparently taking off from the Albert S. Nader Regional Airport. No further information has been released. The FAA and NTSB are investigating. Relatives of a 13-year-old boy who was shot and killed by police in central New York are demanding justice. Members of their immigrant community aimed Sunday to press local officials for accountability. The state attorney general is investigating the shooting of Nyamwe. Utica police tackled him to the ground and then shot him after a foot chase on Friday. Police have released body camera video that showed a youth appearing to aim an object at them before they took him to the ground. Police say it was a BB gun that looked like an actual firearm. Police say Nyamwe and another 13-year-old boy were stopped because they fit descriptions of suspects in an armed robbery on Thursday. At a vigil Saturday, attendees questioned officials' account of the shooting. Troopers are making aware to the public a new sophisticated scam. New York State Police in Oneonta recently discovered that an unknown suspect stole the identity of a property owner in Otsego County. That unknown suspect then forged a New Jersey driver's license and attempted to sell the property through a local realtor. The suspect ran into an issue because the deed had additional owners on it, and it raised some red flags and stalled the sale. That's when the realtor became suspicious and learned that the actual owner had no clue that someone was trying to sell this property. Due to the diligence of the realtor, no sale was made and no money was lost. If you believe you may be a victim or know of anyone that is part of this scam, the New York State Police urge the public to contact the nearest law enforcement agency, as this may be part of a much larger scam. Customers and employees say they were shocked to learn of the impending closing of the Salvation Army thrift store on Binghamton's east side. The store at 5 Griswold Street offers gently used clothing and other items at low prices. A Binghamton resident who has been a regular shopper told WNBF News that he's been going there for at least 30 years. The man said he was told by a worker that the shop is scheduled to close on July 15th. He said the store has been a good place to obtain clothing. The shopper said changes have been implemented at the store in recent months. He said prices had been increased, and that appeared to have resulted in fewer shoppers. Major Thomas Applin, the Salvation Army administrator who oversees the store operation, was not available for comment on Friday. It was not known whether the Salvation Army thrift store on Harrison Avenue in Endicott would remain open. Longtime Trump ally Steve Bannon is scheduled to report to a federal prison in Connecticut to serve a 4-month sentence on contempt charges for defying a subpoena in the congressional investigation into the U.S. Capitol attack. A judge had allowed Bannon to stay free for nearly 2 years while he appealed, but ordered him to report to prison today after an appeals court panel upheld his contempt of Congress convictions. The Supreme Court rejected his emergency appeal to stave off the sentence. Bannon's appeal will continue to play out, and Republican House leaders have put their support behind stepping in to assert the January 6th committee was improperly created. Authorities in western New York say a man fatally shot his 80-year-old grandfather and eventually took his own life on a hiking trail in Letchworth State Park. Police evacuated and closed the park for several hours while searching for the 24-year-old suspect. The man was wanted for the killing earlier in the day at the grandfather's home. Irondequoit police say the two men had argued recently over property, and officers were called last week during a family dispute over parking on the grass. That's a look at news. For updates on local news, weather, sports, and features, open up the WNBF app and online at WNBF.com. This is News Radio 1290 WNBF.
From the Galt Auto Studios, this is WNBF News Radio AM 1290. Also available at 92.1 FM. Save in a big way at Galt Chevrolet.
I'm Bob Joseph. This is Binghamton Now. News Radio, 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, streaming at WNBF.com. This Monday morning, we'll be taking some calls coming up in a few minutes. We begin the hour with a focus on Endicott, Washington Avenue in Endicott, as a massive reconstruction project moves forward. Joining us now on this Monday morning is Zach Pedley, the founder, the owner of the North Brewery. Good morning.
Good morning, Bob. Thank you for having me.
Well, glad to have you with us to give our listeners a sense of what's going on for business operators on the Avenue. We've done a few stories over the past several weeks about the project, including some of the concerns of businesses, whether all the businesses that were in operation before the big project got underway, whether they're still going to be in operation when the project gets done. And I ran into you last night when you were having a little outing with your family. Brought your son and your wife ice cream, and we got chatting about the situation, and I said, I think it's a good idea to have you come on the program today and give our listeners your perspective of what's going on.
Yeah, it's the thing that I've talked to you about before. If we want to see these businesses stay afloat or still be here in the future, we got to support them now. And this is a prime example of like an immediate thing that needs to happen right now. There are a handful or so restaurants and bars on the app that 100% need any support right now. A lot of people just think that, since there's construction going on down there, they just turn a blind eye. But these businesses absolutely need anybody, and they're going to be grateful for anybody to patronize them.
Well, I get the sense, both from talking with you last evening and also what you just said, that you're basically sounding the alarm. This is an alert for people in Endicott and the Triple Cities of a serious or even a critical situation for a lot of locally owned businesses.
Oh, yeah, it really is. I can't stress enough. You want to see this, if you want to see a business on the Ave survive, you have to support them. I mean, it's just like they can't survive with nobody showing up. I mean, we can all agree that this project needs to happen for Washington Ave, but the businesses also need customers as well. I mean, I'm sure it's going to look beautiful once the project's all done, but right now it's a tough part getting through it. It's just getting through it. These businesses already faced one tough problem getting through COVID, and now they're faced, 4 years later with a massive construction that only affects them on the Ave.
And you can speak of the challenges anyway, even when things are going, we'll say, normally, without a pandemic and without a reconstruction project. You have personal experience, firsthand experience over the last 11 years or so of running a small business in a small village. It's not easy. It requires a lot of effort, a lot of investment, and a great deal of blood, sweat, and tears to get through it, even when things are good.
Oh, of course. There's a lot of sacrifice that's made. And only the people that are small business owners really, truly understand, like, we can't do anything this weekend. We got to be down there. We got to be working at the shop just because we have to, survive another week. It's very tough for a lot of people, and it is heartbreaking right now with what's going on. And again, everyone will say that this needs to get done. It does. It's nice that we were awarded the money, and we just need to get the project done so these businesses can go back to normal operation.
I was down on the avenue a couple hours ago and taking some pictures and videos, which we'll be posting on our website, WNBF.com, shortly. And I was talking with one of the construction supervisors. I mean, I see so much activity, and certainly the last time that I was on the avenue to cover the status of the project was exactly 2 weeks ago, and clearly there is progress. The first layer of pavement now has been placed on the first block, the block between North Street and Monroe Street, so that's a sign of progress. But then the block where your business is on, not far from EPAC, it's all dug up. I just talked with somebody. I believe there's a salon very close to your business, and they're suffering. And I know some people, person that I spoke with said she's concerned, even though you can access that business and the other businesses on the avenue, sometimes they're just not happy about going in through the back entrance.
Yeah, it is tough. I mean, it's just customers got to make sacrifices too, and I don't like to say that, but it's the whole, like right now, my block is about 3 feet deep. It's a big pit right now, and we're telling customers that you got to park in the lots, you got to park in the lots, and you got to walk to us. I mean, it on paper it doesn't sound like much, but I get it. I mean, I when there's construction going on up in Binghamton, there's a lot of times I'll try to avoid it, and go somewhere else. And now I truly am feeling what that feels like, just being there and being open and looking outside, and you're having a pit, and knowing that 3 or 4 months go by, things are going to be good. But right now we need the help, and I feel for that woman at the hair salon, because it is tough. You're hoping that customers come down, they don't they just ignore the project that are going on that gets you. But it is tough. It's tough going on right now for everyone.
So what more could be done right now, aside from, for example, this conversation, letting people know, yes, the businesses are open, as the sign says near your business. It's a blue and white sign. Businesses are open. So, okay, at least that message gets out. But are there other steps that could, or in your view, as a business operator, should be taken to help support the existing businesses along the avenue over the next couple of months?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be different for everybody because every business is different. I mean, some of the stuff we're doing pop-ups at other locations where, we're trying to get in at different bars and restaurants selling beer there. But, it's a lot can be different. I mean, I don't know what you would do about an actual restaurant, which their product is only in their restaurant, other than going and supporting them. I feel like the word's got to get out that these businesses they're not going to be open in the end unless people constantly are going down there and supporting them. I mean, even from, this is great. What we're having, this conversation we're having right now is great because it's at least getting a couple people will say, oh, yeah, I got to go down to the Washington Ave. I just think it's people need to keep talking about it and saying, these businesses, they definitely need support. Go down there. Not enough, there isn't too much support that could be had.
Seems to me the bottom line is don't take anything for granted. And I've talked about that on this program over the years anyway, not when it comes to construction projects or whatever, just generally in this area, whether it's a business, a long-time business, or even something that's relatively new, or for that matter, things like golf tournaments or festivals or sports, the baseball team. Don't think that just because we've had something for a few years or a few decades that it's going to always exist, even if you don't support it right now, that say some point down the road, it's like, oh, now I want to go see a ball game or something, or now I want to have something special, say a craft beer that has been available at the North Brewery for the last 11 years. Well, if people don't support all these enterprises and events along the way, there's no guarantee they're going to be around tomorrow.
I know. We'll be left with Walmart. It's a good example of this is right now the Apple Fest is taking a year hiatus just because there's no way we could do the Apple Fest. And I work directly with Monica. There's just no way that we could do the Apple Fest any other location. It needs the Ave to be as open as it is, and so we can have the open container policy lifted on the Ave because it's self-contained. Putting the Apple Fest somewhere else, I mean, it would it just wouldn't feel the same. And two, the amount of the amount of infrastructure we'd have to build for a new area is just ridiculous. And then when we announced, I'm like, oh yeah, it's gonna be postponed a year. People came out of the woodwork and were like upset about it. But in the grand scheme of things, it's just better for everybody if we just wait a year because we want to do it the right way. We don't want to, do it the cheap way. We just want everything to go off without a hitch and go do it the right way, make it as big as possible.
We're talking with Zach Pedley, the owner of the North Brewery on Washington Avenue in Endicott. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think we covered a lot. I would just like to see, I would love it if people came down and supported any business on the Ave. So if you haven't supported a business on the Ave, make it a point in the next couple of weeks to go down and support one of them.
Good advice. And I'll continue to follow the project with updates because there is progress. Make no mistake about it. There's been tremendous progress since the work began. And it is nice to see that this work that was talked about for years is finally taking place. And as you mentioned, and I know the mayor and the village board members and others in Endicott are aware this will be nice when it's done. But in the meantime, between now and November, it's a critical moment for the businesses that are along the avenue between North Street and Main Street. And so I think it's important for people not just to think about it today, but to keep thinking about it over the next several weeks.
Oh, of course.
Zach Pedley. Zach Pedley, thank you. And keep me posted.
I will.
I'll
run into you. Maybe we'll run in getting ice cream again.
Yeah, I bet we will. Thank you so much. Be well.
All right. Catch you later.
Thanks. 10:21. Well, you never know. I have to say, a lot of the things that happen, including the 2 interviews today that we've had on the program, just happen serendipitously, because if I run into people and they say, hey, here's what's going on, and I think, well, then let's talk about it on the program. That's what I enjoy, being around the community, whether it's in Endwell, getting ice cream, or out in Owego at the Strawberry Festival, or wherever I'll be. And it's not just on weekdays. It's 7 days a week. When I run into people and they have a story to tell that I think is compelling, they get invited on this program, because I think this is the type of information that everybody in the community really needs. Phone calls are coming up next. It's Monday morning, July 1st. Binghamton Now, 607-772-1290 is the number. We're live and local. 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, streaming at WNBF.com. The weather looks great. Looks great for the next few days. Sometimes you have to pinch yourself and say, wait, are we allowed to have such good weather in Binghamton for several days in a row? And the answer is absolutely. Absolutely. For all the nattering nabobs of negativism, we can point to a week like this and say, hey, look at this. Look at this. You're not going to find weather this nice probably in most of the rest of the country. Forecast for today, mostly sunny, 75. Tonight, clear, 51. Tomorrow, sunny, 83. Wednesday, mostly sunny, 85. Independence Day, partly sunny, 88. Right now, 63, and that is 17 Celsius. And the air quality index is about the lowest I've seen it. It's, for Binghamton, air quality index is 17. I don't know how you can get air much cleaner, but it's pretty low, especially compared to, remember June of last year, about 13 months ago, when we were experiencing that chimney effect where all the smoke was pouring in from the Canadian wildfires. I don't recall with the AQI, the air quality index, if it got up to, well, was really, really high. I don't know. I don't know what it topped out at. All I remember is going up on Mount Prospect, trying to get a nice shot, a nice perch for a shot of downtown Binghamton enshrouded in all that smoke, because I wanted to be able to show the state office building and the press building and the Security Mutual building with all that smoke. And it's probably ill-advised to be out there breathing that degree of polluted air. I'm sure it was equivalent to smoking about 4 packs of something. But anyway, I got the picture I wanted, but still. And not only did I get the picture without being overcome with all the smoke in the air, I also didn't fall off Mount Prospect and wind up on Front Street, because that would have been an even better story, I guess. Jim Emke. Tragedy struck. Police are investigating. Why would Bob Joseph try to be climbing up Mount Prospect on a smoky day anyway? Good question. Also a good question, who will the Democratic nominee be? I'm sure it'll be somebody, it's probably going to be a name we've heard of. The thing that I think is intriguing, apparently, if the reports can be believed, apparently Jill Biden, Hunter Biden, told Joe to keep running. And I know. I think last Friday I made reference, and maybe it's because I was operating with too little sleep, or maybe I just thought in my fantasy that Hunter Biden, even though he's been through a lot, and many people don't think a heck of a lot of him because of his, shall we say, well-publicized record. Oh, and did I mention the laptop? I was hoping when the family got together at Camp David over the weekend that maybe, since Dr. Jill is incapable, evidently, of leveling with her husband about some realities, I was hoping that Hunter Biden, in this case, might prove to be the hero. But it doesn't look like that's the case. Based on the news accounts, and who knows, the news accounts can be wrong. Many times they are. But according, for example, the New York Times, and can you believe the New York Times? Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Biden's family tells him to keep fighting as they huddle at Camp David. Subheadline: President Biden is trying to figure out how to tamp down Democratic anxiety after the disastrous debate performance. Now, that alone should be a concern, because having witnessed the debate in its entirety, trying to get President Biden right now to figure out anything, I mean, whether it's how to tamp down Democratic anxiety or how to open a can of Moxie, I'm not sure at any given moment that that's something he is able to do. Maybe he can. I don't know. It was not reassuring what I saw last Thursday. So it gives me no pleasure to state the obvious, but to say anything less is to just basically say, oh, well, you saw something, but my TV looked completely different. I was watching on a bigger screen and it looked better. I don't care what size screen if you were watching it on a little TV watch, or if you had a 1 million square foot screen. There's nothing that could salvage the performance. Absolutely nothing. And even if you were just listening to the audio, I heard some people say, well, it wasn't so bad, maybe because they were listening to part of it on the radio. And I'm thinking, well, maybe it wasn't as bad because you couldn't actually see the blank expression on the president's face. So maybe it wasn't as bad with the audio alone. I thought was potentially even more concerning. Neither of these candidates has ever been known for being particularly eloquent. But boy, the contrast last Thursday night, that was the biggest, I think the most remarkable contrast between any candidates in any debate I've ever seen. Any debate. It's 10:33 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Bob. It's Andy from Vestal.
Hey, Andy. What's up in Vestal, man?
What's up in Vestal? Well, I just happened to turn on your radio and turn on you on the radio, and I was listening to the interview, part of the interview on the Washington Avenue reconstruction, and I applaud you for doing this for the at least to promote people to go to the Avenue. We experienced on Main Street back in 1991 the same situation between the when I had my business on Main Street, between where the Court Street Bridge and the arch in Johnson City, that was all ripped up for like 9 months. And there were several small businesses that did go out of business. because whether they were marginal at best before the construction, this was almost like the death knell. In our case, we were a corner lot, and we had access to the back of. We had Grand Boulevard behind us, so we had options at that time to keep our business still going at that time, and that's almost we're 35 years ago or whatever it was when that occurred, and I predict that that even Main Street again will most likely will be torn up, just like Washington Avenue.
Well, it's interesting. I had that very conversation with one of the construction supervisors today on Washington Avenue. We talked about that Main Street project, believe it or not. And because I mentioned, well, this sort of thing happens, and I had specified even more recently what happened on Court Street here, I believe around 2012, 2013, with the remarkable debut of the roundabout. Who could forget that? And so that part of Court Street was redone. But you're right, the Main Street reconstruction project from about 33 years ago was also a long-running and devastating project for small businesses. And just as you mentioned, the gentleman I was talking to, and we both agreed, well, it's overdue. Look at Main Street now. It's going to have to happen as soon as the city can line up the financing for it, either through some kind of state grants or maybe federal funding and some borrowing, but needs to be done. But when it's done, it's going to be another challenge. If they redo Main Street on the west side between, say, the Arch, or where the Arch used to be, and imagine, if you will, there once was an arch here, and then go down to wherever, Front Street or however. I mean, it's not going to be cheap, and it's also going to be a major hurdle for businesses.
Well, look at what happened between in the historic State Street Art Walk between was it Lewis Street and Henry Street?
Sure, here, just a block from the station.
Right, which was catastrophic for I was at Old Barn Market was one of the places that they actually moved. I think fortunately they got a different situation, but it was very tenuous, And again, what my point is, we had because where our business was, we had an option. We figured it out, which is not all businesses have that safety that safety valve that we had. Granted, our business at that time was lower, but we were able to get by, every business is different, and so I will definitely make a point to get over to Washington Avenue. I'd like to know how is the mayor of Endicott and maybe, I don't know, the DOT or whatever who's involved, getting the word out. We had back in at the 1991, we had a lady, and who's a lovely lady who's still around, Jean Farnello, she and her husband Ray had hip printing. She steps to the forefront, and she was a spokesperson for all between the DOT and all the Main Street merchants. And we used to have meetings, once every 2 weeks, I think. We used to have, and it worked out. It worked out. It was almost like some sort of chat session, but at least we were communicating it, person to person. And I think it was Barrett Paving was the one who was doing, and they did a wonderful job. Which that paving job held up very well for many, many years, but now unfortunately it's worn out. It's now back to where it was before, and it's gonna occur. That's but that's all there is. But I don't know if there's going to be, I don't like they do for the Dick's Open where you park your car in the parking lot and you get, you park a certain distance and say, oh, there's a bus that will take you, to the entrance of Washington Avenue or on whether it's on North Street or on Main Street. I don't know. I don't know how they thought this out, but there's got to be a way for people to communicate and indicate what problems they're having, because without any of these businesses, the local tax rates are just going to go up. It's going to go back to the homeowners anyway. If you don't support locals, we're just, what happens.
Right. Well, I will say on the bright side, at least long term, things would appear to be looking up for Endicott because finally, at long last, the reconstruction is being done on the avenue. Also, the current owners of Huron campus, Phoenix investors, clearly have been willing to spend millions of dollars to improve the exteriors and interiors of the buildings that used to be part of the IBM campus. And then also coming very, very soon, and this at a minimum would be symbolic, but to have the old IBM Endicott building group, those 5 crumbling buildings, at least, one building actually looks like it's not crumbling, but 4 crumbling buildings, total of 5 buildings that'll be demolished, at least have that blight, the eyesore out of there. So things, let's face it, a year from now, say July 1st of 2025, I suggest to you, Endicott, at least the heart of Endicott, the business district, North Street and Washington Avenue, are going to look a lot better. But the question is, a year from now, how many of the businesses that were open last spring will still be around? Or will there be a lot of vacant storefronts and property owners looking for new tenants? Because that'll be tough.
Well, look at this. The New York State does not give you're assessed. You have to pay monthly. You got to pay monthly assessments or whatever to your what is that? I can't think of the word. You have to pay. You have to pay taxes every month. Or I have an accountant that where I say you take out so much out of this checking out, it's going towards your FICA, your whatever it is. There are things that they don't really care. It's like, the state doesn't really care whether you have it or not. It's just like you better have it, or we're coming after you.
Well, it's interesting how some elected officials offer a lot of lip service to how they are on the side of business operators. But it seems to me more often than not, the types of business operators that they're really focused on helping are the biggest operators, or at least the operators that as Chuck Schumer would say, are going to be a game changer, when in fact, as we often see after the years go by, the game never changes. It's just been, we've been duped again.
Anything like EIT, for instance?
Yes, EIT, End It. The cannabis hub in Kirkwood that was supposed to bring several hundred high-paying jobs, and what was the thing that they were going to do over at Link Park or whatever? The number of things that have been promised to us that never materialized, it's incredible. And I'm not blaming. Don't think for a minute that I'm blaming any governor. I won't blame Governor Hochul or Governor Cuomo or Governor Pataki for business plans that don't come to fruition. It's not their fault. But what is their fault is the way they roll these things out and make it sound like happy days are here again. And they don't put enough cautionary language like saying, look, this is what the developers are planning and the state is supporting that, but let's be careful. There are so many moving parts that everything, all the planets will have to line up perfectly for this to happen. They seldom apply any level of caution when they're making their game-changing announcements.
Yeah, exactly.
So, by the way, how's the Dairy Queen coming there over on the Parkway? It's July 1st. It should be open by now. I'm going to get myself a DQ burger.
I was just speaking about that to some other people in Bethel. I said, this is ice cream season, and
be a great day to have I don't even know what they sell, blizzards or wizards or whatever. Give me a blizzard or a wizard along with a DQ burger and
I have to tell you,
an onion ring.
My wife and I made a non-churned ice cream she found on the internet, and it's really good. We made our own chocolate ice cream without half the sugar.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you're in the business of making ice cream at home, look up on the internet how to make. There is a recipe, at least one recipe, how to make the world's best Ben & Jerry flavor, although it's been discontinued now for years, Dastardly Mash. Get that recipe. It includes dark chocolate chunks and nuts and raisins, etc., etc. Make a batch of that, and you'll be glad you did. Unless you don't like raisins. If you don't like raisins, leave the raisins out. But that was my favorite Ben & Jerry ice cream. And those punks, those liberal punks in Vermont, pulled the plug on it. And I went personally up to their plant, their liberal ice cream plant on Route 100 in Vermont, and asked the people in charge of that plant why they stopped doing it. And they said sheepishly, well, because the raisins were gumming up the machines. It's like, come on, man. You guys can figure it out. Put something in the machine or clean out the machine every other batch and, scrape out the raisin remnants. Come on, man. That's no excuse. Oh, and just to show them that I take their admonition seriously, when you walk through the tour of the Ben & Jerry's plant in Vermont, they say
Waterbury, Vermont, I think.
It is Waterbury. Thank you.
Yeah.
And they say, and I think they say it once or twice, and there are signs that says no cameras, no video. So of course, I whip out my camera and I'm taking still pictures and video, and they're saying like, Sir, there are no pictures and no videos. I said, yeah, I know, but there's also no Dastardly Mash, so I guess we're even. And then they look, hey, if they bring it back, I might delete the video I took, but I doubt it.
Bob, you might want to bring. You might want to bring the mayor or ask the mayor of Endicott and see what they're. I don't know how they're all working together as a unit, but they really. I think these businesses need to be really need to promote each other a lot now. This is a tough go, and then because we're getting are they going to be finished in November? Is that what they're?
They should be, and I have to say the segment I set up with Zach Pedley was set up literally at about 7:05 last night at an ice cream shack in Endwell, and I said, you should call in tomorrow. So I haven't invited Nick Burlingame to come on the program today. I will say he was just on June 13th, and we talked about some of these same issues as far as the challenges that the Washington Avenue businesses are facing. But I will invite him to come back on the program sometime this week if he wants to talk more, because I understand from the conversations I've had with the mayor since he took office exactly 6 months ago today, I understand he is concerned about this. And so we will, the next time he's on, whether it's this week or whenever, we'll ask him more specifically if there are some thoughts about trying to keep this message out in front of people that the businesses really need to be supported right now.
Well, Bob, you're really connected with all the media, including, I know, Jim Emke and that a whole bunch of crew. Even if you could just get the word, I realize I've been on the air more than, you give me a lot of time. I will end this thing. There was a guy named Paul King. I don't remember him. He was a newscaster on WBNG. It was 1991, and I remember specifically that person made I think an unfortunate choice of saying, whatever you do, avoid Main Street. It's all torn up. It's not it's not open for traffic. I remember recalling the station. I said, "Are you out of your mind?" I said, "There are people, there are businesses that are still trying to operate during this time period." And I remember this. Again, 33 years ago. Yeah, it was just. I mean, they need to be repeating it over and over. Almost hate to say it, on a daily basis. Because
I think if I was in charge, I would put out public service announcements to the TV and radio stations, and yes, even the newspaper. Ask the newspaper if they would occasionally put a small quarter-page ad or whatever, because newspapers used to do that. When they were, and some people would say, well, newspapers or radio stations or TV stations aren't in the business of giving away valuable advertising. No, that's true. We're not. We're in business. And let's face it, all of our sponsors, all of our local sponsors and regional and national sponsors, they pay us good money, and that's how we stay in business. So we're truly not in the business of giving it away, except if there's an extenuating circumstance, and I think the ongoing construction on Washington Avenue qualifies for that. Because
I think this would almost gain more advertisers if they got through this.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
Hey, guess who got us through all this?
Yeah, I think it would represent a smart long-term investment. Appreciate your thoughts. It's 10:51. Bob Joseph serving the community one call at a time on WNBF's Binghamton Now. Back to the phones we go. Airport Road Bob in the town of Maine. Good morning.
Hey, morning, Bob. Just a quick public announcement. The air show has started to arrive. The B-17 just flew in maybe 20 minutes or so ago, and the Blue Angels arrived last night. So time to cut the grass this week. Watch the show ahead of time, and hope it turns out to be a good weather weekend for the money spent.
Oh, I hope so. I'm looking forward to it.
It's pretty impressive. When those jets came in last night, it scared the hell right out of me because they just come flying in out of nowhere.
Yeah, I should have been up there, but instead I was eating ice cream.
Oh, that's all right. Did you have a premonition they were going to be arriving last night?
I knew they were. And what I did over the weekend, for the most part, was take the weekend off, tried to stay away from the news just to give myself a chance to recharge. I knew they were coming in, and I certainly had every opportunity to go up and take some pictures. We were given advance word, but, every once in a while, especially after last Thursday night, I needed to consider where I'm going and where this country is going.
Well, it's a sad event. Honestly, if I had a choice of making a decision on what would happen, I want to go back to the old school. I want to show everybody to show up at the convention and do all their politicking and
do it. I agree. I think both Democrats and Republicans ought to have whatever they call it. I don't know if it's a brokered convention, whatever. Let's have old-fashioned politics being done in the smoke-filled rooms, and let's see what emerges. Appreciate your call. And maybe, I'm not predicting anything, maybe that's what we need. Let's make it exciting. I'm not saying specifically who the candidate should be, but let the decision come at both of the conventions this summer. It's 10:56. I'm Bob Joseph. You're listening to Binghamton Now on WNBF.
WNBF. This is a special report from ABC News. Supreme Court rules on immunity. I'm Derek Dennis. The U.S. Supreme Court has handed down a ruling on the constitutional question of whether former President Trump has absolute immunity from any criminal prosecution. That was a key argument from Trump and his lawyers in the various criminal cases he faces, including his 2020 election interference case. The High Court essentially deciding Trump has some immunity from official acts, but no immunity from non-official acts, sending the question back to the lower courts for further rulings.
The court did have to outline the big question. Donald Trump's claim that former presidents are absolutely immune from prosecution, can never be prosecuted for any of their official acts. And in this case, the court says that a former president may have some immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts during his tenure in office.
ABC's Terry Moran. Trump calling it a big win for our Constitution and for democracy. This is ABC News.
I'm Bob Joseph, live and local on a Monday morning. This is July 1st. And who knows what will happen next? A lot already has happened, and we haven't even made it to noon. Stay tuned to WNBF for all of your local and national news.
WNBF
607-772-1290. Matt in Binghamton, you're on the air.
Yeah, I hear you, making it sound like Joe Biden was the only one that we should scrutinize on his conduct. Here's the deal, as Joe Biden would say. They figured out how many lies that and Donald Trump told during the debate. It was over 30. So that means if each person had 40 minutes plus the closing statements, that's about what they had. That means everything he said almost was a lie, because he got 2 minutes each time, and if you do the math, almost everything he said was a lie. So yes, Joe Biden had a horrible performance. So did past presidents. Gerald Ford didn't even know that Poland was wasn't a communist country. There's all sorts of things. Joe Biden definitely has some stuff to prove. I think he kind of proved it in Philadelphia the other day when the rally afterwards. And if you look at the Philadelphia Inquirer, what they said was the party who should be looking at getting rid of their nominee is the Republican Party because of him being a felon and all the lies he's told.
Well, maybe the truth is both parties, as I said before the break, both parties might want to take advantage of their conventions in July and August and try to find a couple of qualified, honest candidates.
Bob, you know that the Republicans are stuck with their cult leader. There's no way they're going to do it. The only party that might do it is the Democrats, because they believe in having.
Well, if they want to win, they need to find. If they want to win, they need to find a candidate who can string together 3 sentences in a row.
Did you listen to his press conference after the next day in Philadelphia? Did you listen to anything? Well, let's go through the lies, first of all. Let you keep focusing on Joe Biden. That's what I'm trying to get you not to do. He said that all the jobs that Steve Ratner was on this morning broke this all down. He said that all the jobs were bounce-back jobs, and you can't count those as jobs. The reality is, under Trump, 182,000 per month jobs were in his tenure were per month came in. 296,000 for Joe Biden, 6.2 million more jobs. He says all the time that the biggest tax cut in the history of the world, the history of the United States, was under him. It's not even close. Ronald Reagan cut taxes 2.9%. Trump cut them only 0.6%. He's not even close to the top. So he lied about that. He said that if you go about the deficits, 4.8 trillion. If you take out COVID and the effects of COVID, $4.8 trillion under Donald Trump, and 2.2 out of Joe Biden. Crime, killing our citizens, never seen before. All these immigrants coming in. The fact is, most immigrants, illegal immigrants, don't go do anything illegal because they know they will be immediately deported. Yes, there's been a couple cases but he makes it sound like every immigrant that come across the border is murdering people and stuff like that. It's all about fear. The crime rate under Biden has gone down 26% since Trump was in office. It used to be 398 crimes per 100,000 under Trump. It's down to 294 per 100,000 now. So everything he said was a lie. And you're making it like Joe Biden said, I know the truth. I know how to do this job. And that's what we should be concerned about. If I like I said the other day, if the Democrats decide to have another candidate, fine. But it's
only if they want to win.
No,
it has nothing to do.
The polls don't show that.
I'm not talking about polls. The common sense will dictate that the American people are not going to vote for someone who put in that kind of a shoddy performance. It was the worst in the history of televised debates. It was the worst ever.
Yeah, and there's been plenty of other bad ones. But what about the fact that every word out of Donald Trump's mouth
makes no difference? America is used to presidents who don't tell the truth. I'm telling you.
I think
you know,
until November.
If you've listened to the program, you know exactly what I think about Donald Trump. The problem is that there are going to be, 140, 150 million Americans who vote in November, and not enough Americans are going to vote for the guy who put in that incredibly pathetic performance. I'm sorry that I have to use such words, but if the words fit...
I don't disagree with you, but I think there's a lot of time left. If he is the candidate, people are going to have to make
He can't be the candidate and win. He cannot... I'll tell you how he can win, is if something similar happens to Donald Trump.
It happens, and the next day Trump was again talking about craziness. The mainstream media isn't covering it. They only cover Biden being weak. Every day Trump goes out on the stump, he says...
Oh, he's talking about getting electrocuted in fishes or sharks, whatever.
And then he continued on that vein, even though everybody said it was crazy. He still was talking about electric this and electric that.
Yep.
So, if they start giving each side and start showing... I mean, Donald Trump is the one that's... Like Joe Biden... First of all, a debate has nothing to do with how good of a president you are.
I didn't say. I agree. One debate, 90 minutes on CNN cable news channel, has nothing to do with how either person would behave over the next 4 years. The problem is, before you can get your card punched so you can live in the White House starting next January 20th for 4 years, you're going to have to convince the majority of voters.
Yes,
and sadly...
And right now, the polls have not changed hardly at all.
Well, it doesn't make any difference. Those polls make no difference. The only thing that matters is the November vote.
Right.
And there's no... Mark my words. There's no way... And again, unless Donald Trump pulls something that is so bizarre... And remember, he's pulled...
He does it every day.
And
that's the point.
That's why it's baked in. It makes no difference.
No, but...
It makes no difference to most Americans because they know exactly how he behaves. They've baked it in. Wackiness is part of his formula.
The baking is not over. The baked in is not over because most people don't pay as much attention to politics as you and I and a lot of people. There's a very small majority that pays attention. They know the chaos that was under Trump, and when they start to listen and see it's even worse, it's worse what he's saying. He's saying he still says the election was unfairly decided. He still says he's going to all the people that stormed the Capitol were patriots. When people really start to digest this after September 1st, and they have those 2 months to think about who they want to, I hope some of the world leaders, Joe Biden's been doing amazing diplomacy all over the world, saving NATO. We now have 2 more countries involved in NATO. There's so many things he's done good, and then when people really start focusing and realizing the kind of chaos, and even worse this time, little Stephen Miller runts like that are going to be. He might be the secretary. He might be the attorney general. I mean, when people really face what we're facing with Donald Trump's retribution tour and Steve Bannon saying all the stuff he's saying, and all those things, most reasonable people are going to say, we cannot have this happen. I think they will realize the importance of this election, and they'll say, 4 years from now, we'll have a whole different choice. But this time, as Bill Maher said, I would vote for Joe Biden if his head was in a jar with blue liquid over Donald
They say Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo will save the Democratic Party. Thank you. Andrew Cuomo could probably sweep about 47 states, even New York, even in the state where we know him best and where he might be most disliked. 11:16, good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Bob. It's Gary from the West Side. So I want to tell you about two things that made me happy this weekend, because I tell you right now, politics does not make me happy. Either side does not make me happy. Right? I mean, the independents, right? I saw one thing where 70%, they're unhappy with both candidates. 70% of independents, I fall into that category. I don't know. Politics don't make me happy, so I try to steer away from it. So the two things that made me happy: one, thank you, Fox 40, for letting me go to a Binghamton Rumble Pony game for free. So I took advantage of, you can get up to 6 tickets, and you get vouchers that you can turn into tickets for tonight's game for free, which I think is awesome. That's there's no excuse not to go to a baseball. It's going to be good weather. They're free. Take your wife or your girlfriend and your kids out and go have a good time at the ballpark. Thank you, Fox 40. Another thing is down in Rec Park, they have the farmers market, and I'm happy for them to be down there. That's it's a good place to shop and get some good quality food. And I'm just happy for that.
Well, thank you for sharing. I'm glad that there are some things that make people happy. And again, don't build your life around politics, either presidential or local politics, because you'll always wind up being disappointed.
Yeah, I know that's so true.
And I'm not saying ignore it. I'm not saying ignore politics. If you want, pay attention, but also spend more of your time and energy, prioritize the finer things in life, like, say, baseball games or just some of the great things we have around here.
Right, or your family, or your friends, or your pets, whatever makes you happy, right?
Yeah.
Because, in politics, let's say your guy wins, right? But what happens then? The next day, it all starts where the other side just picks on everything that they do. They just pick on it. So you don't really win because they're just picking on the guy that just won. It's an important thing, but I don't get too involved anymore. It's that's just the way I feel.
Well, yeah, you have to keep everything in perspective.
Yes, you do, Bob.
Thank you,
Gary.
Gary.
Thanks for letting me share. All right, bye.
11:19. Keep it in perspective. Life is good. By the way, here's a bulletin. This just in. Regardless of the outcome of the presidential election in November, your life is probably going to be unchanged, at least in the short term. Long term, really long term, I don't know, especially when it comes to nominees to the Supreme Court. So I don't know. But say if your candidate, the person you are supporting today, wins or doesn't win in November's election, don't be either too giddy or too unhappy. Your life, and life as we know it in Binghamton and upstate New York, northeastern Pennsylvania, and the USA, life will go on. Despite the way it might be portrayed on talk radio or cable news opinion shows. Life will go on. You'll be okay. It's 11:20 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Paul from West Windsor.
Morning.
I want to talk about the after the debate speech of Joe Biden. A little common sense. The speech, he did a great job of reading what the speechwriters wrote, and he's been practicing it for 2 weeks. And he did a great job. There were some very important points.
All right, but anybody could do that. AI could do that.
Yeah, I know. That's my point. Little common sense. Look behind the lines to see what's happening.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe they gave him 2 Red Bulls. I don't know.
I mean, I think that was the same thing he practiced for 2 weeks, and reading the speech was really easy for him. I think the speechwriters are running our country.
Well, of course. You know, the guy who wrote Ronald Reagan's most famous line, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall," that's a Vestal High School graduate. Yeah. Ronald Reagan didn't come up with that. In fact, his advisors told him don't say it because it was too inflammatory. So Ronald Reagan overruled his advisors and then used the line that was written by a Vestal High School graduate. So speechwriters are the people who help set the tone of either a campaign or an administration.
Well, I'm trying to read behind the lines, use a little common sense, and digesting what's going on.
All right, so what's going on? Why is the guy incapable of speaking a coherent sentence unless it's written in front of him on a prompter?
Well, you're making my point. You can't talk off the cuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that what you seem to be telling me is that I'm in better shape mentally than the President of the United States because I'm capable of operating this local talk show, this local dog and pony show in upstate New York, that I can communicate better than the most powerful person on the planet?
Absolutely.
Good grief.
I want to
we're in big trouble. If a punk who's in front of a microphone in an underground studio in downtown Binghamton can communicate better than the President of the United States, we're in deep trouble.
Well, the words you use, you have good word wealth. It's delicious to hear some of the words you use. You're very smart, you're very well educated, and you have a lot of common sense. That's what's lacking in this country, so don't put yourself down.
No, I'm proud of what I do and what I stand for.
Well,
I make but I am concerned, and I do think that basically, look, whether people like me or dislike me, they learn quite a bit about who I am, or at least my worldview, if you listen to this program for a week or so.
You can tell by your choice of words that you're a very thoughtful person, and I think you're very fair.
And that's what I strive to be. I'm trying to be fair to all parties, including those. Sometimes people take it the wrong way. When I'm critical of someone's actions or statements or general behavior or demeanor, I am not saying they're a bad person. I don't think I've ever gone on this program to insinuate anyone is a bad person.
Well, I just called up to give you some accolades.
Well, thank you.
Keep using these wonderful words, and you're a very smart person.
Well, thank you. You're very kind. I appreciate your calls. And again, I'm striving to make the program as accessible to as many people as possible. I think it's important. I would love, you know what I would love, Paul? I would love to be able to have a program like this on a national level. And again, I'm not asking for syndication because for me, I mean, that's the type of thing, that ship has sailed. But I would like a program very similar to this to be on a nationally syndicated basis, so people of all political beliefs could get on the air and have conversations. and sometimes even contentious back and forth things with the host, but it's not predictable every day. I think that type of program would work well.
We need more people that have values and are articulate and have good word wells and don't dumb us down.
Thank you, Paul.
Have a good day.
You too. It's 11:26. I'm Bob Joseph. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? Morning. You're on the air. Where are you calling from?
Yes, Vinny from Binghamton.
Hey, Vinny. Good morning.
Hey, you know what? Let me see. Can you hear me? Is that coming through clear on your side?
Yeah, that's loud and clear.
Okay, I heard just a little static. Now, I wanted to call and talk about. I had a great weekend, Bob. Right after we talked, I heard Joe Biden speaking in North Carolina, down there in Raleigh, and he still had something, a cold or something, because he coughed quite a bit. Like there's something going on. He was coughing, but he was down there and fire. I mean, he was going. He was really going, and I love what he said at the very end of his speech. And he basically said what I was talking about last year about what Joe Biden reminds me of. And I use an analogy of an old, great baseball player coming to the end of his career and then going on into coaching. And Joe Biden said, I don't walk as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. Talked about I don't debate as well as I used to. But I do know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth. I know right from wrong. I know how to get the job done. I know how to get things done. And then, he ended with, and I know what 1 million Americans know all across this country, is when you get knocked down, you get back up. And that's what I loved. I loved that. And as far as, I'm not even worried about the Trumpers. When I'm talking about these pundits on the Democratic side, I would love, these guys like, and you can see it. I've seen it for a while, but now you can really see, and I kind of looked it up, and I didn't realize that Biden called this guy up. He called him a prick. And that's that David Axelrod. That was that guy with Obama. And for all of you guys that want to insert people in the Democratic Party, we should get Hillary Clinton. Do you know, and I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it since we're going after each Democrat, Hillary Clinton's a two-time loser because you forgot Obama beat her too. Obama beat Hillary Clinton. And then she went up against Donald Trump. And for those of you that say Joe Biden should put his pride in his back pocket, he said, I already did. And I was in my early 70s, late 60s, early 70s, and I let Hillary go. Yep, I stepped back right there. I think it was in the Rose Garden. We sat there, had Obama to my left, my right. And nope, I'm not running. I'll let Hillary go. And she lost. Donald Trump beat her. Now he comes back. And I would tell guys like David Axelrod and the rest of the Democratic Party, I said, let me tell you something. I raised more money than my old boss. I got more votes than my own boss. And I'm going to tell you something. You may have been the first African-American president, but I won with a female right next to me. Got more money than you did, got more votes than you did, and I won. And guess what? In November, I'm going to win again. And that's what he needs to say. Say stuff like, listen, the Obama train is on its way. So you got two choices, Democrats, you pundits. You either get off, you either stay on and go with us, or you get off and get the hell out of the way. You got to get tough with these Democrats now, these little softies. We need to, because, Bob, I know, we don't like neither one. Trump's not going anywhere. And the Republican Party.
But he might have to. Something could still happen. I know everybody is saying, Trump is locked in. He's not locked into anything, just like Biden's not locked into anything. It's not over till the conventions are over. So you've got the Democratic convention coming up later this month. You have the Republican convention coming up next month. Hey, there's still plenty of time. I'm not predicting. There's still plenty of time for one or both of the presumptive nominees of the Democratic and Republican parties to be replaced. That's why they're called presumptive nominees.
Well, I'll tell you, with the Supreme Court's ruling today, Trump ain't going nowhere. He's not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere voluntarily, but
Nope.
circumstances could come up where against all odds, and for the first time in his life, perhaps, that Donald John Trump might have to be held accountable by someone, maybe even members of the Republican Party that didn't used to be this way. Vinny, you remember a time when the GOP was not like this. And there are still a lot of members of the Republican Party, millions, I dare say tens of millions of members of the Republican Party who would like to see their party revert back to the way it was in the pre-Trumpian days.
But, Bob, they're too afraid. They've let this guy get away with it.
Unless something happens that will cause them to no longer be afraid. You have to use your imagination. Use your imagination, and something could happen. The guy cannot constantly cause people to cower in fear. I understand that over the last, whatever it's been, 9 years, because of just the way things are in this country, people have been basically, to a large extent, afraid to reclaim their party. But at some point, the party probably will be reclaimed.
Well, I thought Nikki Haley was probably the best chance they had. A lot of those never Trumpers, that was the best chance they had. But that girl goes, well, I didn't recommend him yet, but I know he's got to prove something to me. Then she goes and she blew it. She should have stayed out of it. And then when he loses in November, I told you folks, he's not electable. And then she could have had the party, but she went and blew it. She blew it. And there's nobody over there right now that could do it.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a minute, that there is no Republican. You're telling me there is no Republican over the age of 35 who can't be elected in November. That's your position?
Yeah, where?
I don't know where. But I haven't been looking for that person. I'm not looking for candidates to replace the presumptive nominees. I'm saying this is a big country, and I can virtually guarantee you that there, in both parties, Republican and Democratic parties, there are more than 10 people who have the ability to energize the party base, and enough people from outside their party, independents, and maybe even people who are members of the other party, who are ready. They're primed for a change. A lot of people are sick and tired of the two main characters in this story.
Well, you know what, Bob? I go back to the Revolutionary War. I bet you there's a lot of people that were disgruntled with the Revolutionary War. And with the Civil War, I hate this war. I hate this war. World War I, World War II, but the Vietnam War, the Korean War, all the wars we've been in. But you know what? That's what you do. You have to fight when it comes to your democracy and your country sometimes. I know we've had a lot of wars before, and we never had the draft, so a lot of the young don't have to worry about going to the war and this and that. But a lot of people, like I said, when you go to Arlington, a lot of people sacrifice for this country. And the least we could do was do some type of getting into it and voting, because with that Supreme Court, with them two nut jobs on there right now, that's our fault.
Well,
that's our fault.
And there's another thing, though.
Yep.
About that people, Americans, all Americans, even those who aren't voting age yet, but who will be voting, whether it's this year or at any point in the future, they need to fully appreciate the power of the presidency, because, left alone, if say it's just, it's only 4 years. I mean, any giant mistakes that are made by whoever is president starting January 20th, they can be undone by the next president, whoever he or she is. Well, maybe some can, but Supreme Court appointments can't be undone.
No.
So when those are the things, that's where the potential long-term damage could happen, regardless of who is president, regardless of whether the president is Democratic or Republican. Depending on who is nominated for the upcoming Supreme Court vacancies, and there will be some, and the other thing is the nominees are going to have to be able to get through the confirmation process, because we've seen before good quality candidates have been nominated, but in some cases they stand no chance of being confirmed. So that's why also the composition of Congress, the Senate, is critical too. So
absolutely,
it's people
and the House,
it's I think our system, although it's not perfect, it's designed to ultimately, in theory, give us decent people, especially in these key positions. The nine members of the Supreme Court should be squeaky clean. I mean, sadly, we see that, the image of the court has become more and more tarnished in recent years, and it's disturbing. It's disturbing to see some people who, and I'm not going to name names now, but when you have members of the high court who are ethically challenged, that is a real problem for this country. 11:37, this is Bob Joseph on WNBF. More calls are coming up. 607-772-1290. Would you like to talk on the radio? I bet you would. Go ahead. Give me a call. Binghamton Now, WNBF. 11:39, let's go back to the phones. Chris in Binghamton, you're on the air.
Bob, how are you doing on Monday?
Doing well. How are you, Chris?
We got ourselves a nice short work week. The reason why I'm calling is I heard, Matt Ryan on there, and I heard Big Paul on there, and I agree with Big Paul. Bob, you are a very level-headed person. You take both sides of the aisle, and I think for the most part you are a very level-headed person. Speak very well. You speak much better than I do, that's for sure. But my other question is, do you have to work Friday?
I will be here on Friday.
Oh, goody. Well, I'll be in my camper listening to you, okay?
Okay.
And other than that, I did see the presidential debate, and I am not changing my vote. I still do know who I am voting for.
Okay. All right. Very good. And thank you for listening. I always appreciate people who are loyal listeners and basically support this concept. That's what I'm trying to do.
You're fair and just, Bob, and you're fair and just, and I appreciate that. I mean, sometimes you and I don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, and I accept it. You accept it. And I thank you, and I appreciate it, and you have yourself a heck of a 4th of July.
You too. Thanks, Chris. DJ in Binghamton, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Bob. Hey, Binghamton did it again. I don't know if the viewers have been paying attention, but you should be. The trials have been on NBC, and Emily McKay from Binghamton University came through running track. So that's good. Of course, Jade Carey made it, and everybody else good ones.
Yeah.
So that's something we look forward to.
I should have mentioned that because I've been receiving all sorts of massages from Roger Neal and from Binghamton University. And so that's great news for a Union Endicott high school graduate, a Binghamton University graduate. She placed second in the women's 1,500 meters race at the U.S. Olympic trials in Oregon. And the top 3 finishers qualify to represent the USA in the Olympics in Paris. And her time of 3:55.90 was her personal best, and just behind the winner, Nikki Hiltz, who had a meet record of 3:55.33. So it was a fraction of a second.
Wow.
So her first round of competition in Paris will be August 6th. She becomes the 5th Binghamton University student athlete to qualify for the Olympic Games.
That is wonderful. Hey, also that 16-year-old Rivera made it. Her family moved from Jersey to Texas so she could have a life in gymnastics, and she made it as well. Hey, does anybody know about the election protection hotline? If you want to be a poll watcher or if you're concerned about anything about the election, there's an election protection hotline. You can Google the number or call the Board of Elections. But if people are concerned about
Who is running it? The Board of Elections?
being stolen or whatever,
Who is running that?
I don't know, Bob. You'll have to take your formerly cannabis-stained fingers if they are that. I don't know if they are or not.
Oh, hold on. I just looked it up. Oh, Tish James. Oh, Tish James is running it, so it must be good. Says the Attorney General Tish James has announced the Election Protection Hotline. So I didn't think you were a big fan of Tish James, but
I'm a fan of. Oh my goodness, I love Tish James.
Really?
I had dinner with her a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
she bought me lunch.
Yeah,
she bought me breakfast.
You wish. You wish that Tish would buy you breakfast.
Well, you know,
she's one attorney general who hasn't been on the program. There used to be a time when New York State officials, governors, and attorneys general loved to be on WNBF, but not so much anymore.
Bob, I don't dislike anybody. Listen, man, it's not the person; it's the policies. I say that all the time.
Sure. And by the way, I always enjoy people coming on the program and explaining their policies, not as part of a debate with the host, but as a way to explain to the listeners here in the Binghamton area and beyond what their policies are, just so people are better informed.
And there's more important things going on in this world, like the warship on Florida, next to Florida, and all these people plotting to destroy us, and Israel is now drafting people. Oh, goodness gracious.
Well, watch out. When the U.S. brings back the draft, talk about if you think people have been protesting in recent months here in the U.S., wait until the United States brings back the draft.
Well, keep in prayer, folks.
Well, that will engage people. If people from all walks of life, the rich and the poor, the educated and the uneducated, if our young men and women, anybody over the age of 18, could wind up having to serve in the military, suddenly that will change the way things work in this country.
Yeah, I believe that. At least jobs will pick up.
Well, I don't know if jobs will pick up. I know probably interest in news will pick up, because then even young people or even older people who don't have much interest in what's going on outside their hometown or outside the United States, suddenly they're going to be a lot more interested to find out what wars are about to happen, so they have a pretty good sense of where they or their children are going to be sent. That's the way it was when this country had a draft. I can tell you just from hazy memories, people were, including young people, were a lot more interested in what was going on in some of the conflict points of the world. I tell you now, DJ, that there probably are a lot of people who are of high school or college age who pay very little attention to what's going on outside the U.S.
Yeah, I know that's true. I believe that.
Yeah, sadly. But I think that would be good for the news media if the draft is brought back, because more people will start paying attention to the news again.
Hey, who do you think Donald Trump should pick?
What do I think he should think? I think he should think that he's really pretty darn lucky.
No, who should he pick?
Oh, who should he pick as his running mate?
Yes.
Taylor Swift.
Nah, she's too busy. She would downgrade. She wouldn't move into the White House. She probably has a nicer house than the White House.
If she's vice president, she doesn't have to live there. There's no law that says vice president has to even live in Washington. Taylor Swift can keep, as vice president, Taylor Swift could still go on concert tours and live in whatever homes she already has. There's no law that would. I mean, obviously, she would have to probably have a separate cell phone so the president could get in touch with her if she wanted to talk to him.
I am surprised he's not picking Noam from South Dakota because she's everything he likes. She's pretty,
how do you know? By the way, I know who he's going to pick. I was just told last Friday, but I'm sworn to secrecy, so I know who he's going to pick. I just don't know when he's going to announce it.
You think it's J.D. Vance? That's what everybody's saying.
I'm not going to comment because I was sworn to secrecy.
J.D. Rant, and his wife's name is Jennifer, and her last name's Ray. Rant and Ray.
Well, I'm just saying.
It doesn't matter to me, man.
You know,
I know who I serve. It don't matter who's president to me because I know who I'm under, so that's good.
And the thing is, whoever he picks had better be ready from day one to be president because anything can happen. By the way, anybody who serves as vice president, that's the thing with Kamala Harris. She better be ready. After that performance, and again, it pains me to keep bringing this up. It's like beating a dead candidate. But honestly, after that performance last Thursday night, my guess is Kamala Harris hasn't had one good night's sleep because she realizes, I'm serious. As they say, I mean, the cliche is the vice president is just a heartbeat away from the presidency. Well, look at what happened last Thursday night on CNN News Channel. That, if nothing else, that caused Kamala Harris to start to really focus on what she's gotten herself into.
Yeah.
Now, somebody said that what they ought to do is replace Kamala Harris on the ticket. I'm trying to think. Gretchen Whitmer, have her be Biden's running mate if the Democrats do hang tough and hang in there with Joe Biden and make Gretchen Whitmer the vice presidential candidate and then have Kamala Harris name her to be attorney general. So it'd be like, well, we understand that you're not really going to help the ticket much. So here's what we want to do. You be a good soldier and agree to become the attorney general, and then we'll have Gretchen Whitmer be the running mate, and that way more people generally across America will be more likely to vote for the Democratic ticket than if it's Biden and Harris.
Hey, what's going to happen to electric cars now that we're going to have a battery hub here? You know, they were saying in the news about all the chemicals that come out. What about the Walmart workers over there by Gannett or even the Gannett workers?
Too bad, man.
Cars might get cheaper, but I don't know.
What we've discovered here in Broome County is there's always a trade-off with industry, whether it was EJ or IBM. Those companies provided tens of thousands of jobs, but look at what they left behind.
Hey, did the people get money in Endicott from the cancer that they got from the IBM?
Some people received money. Some people received money as part of the IBM settlement, but the amount of money they received was top secret. They're not allowed to talk about it. That was part.
Oh, really?
That was part of all the agreements. I mean, whether people received money because of health issues or money to compensate for property values that were damaged, I believe in every case they were ordered never to disclose publicly how much IBM gave them. Yeah, I mean, basically it's to buy their silence, right? That's what these settlements are. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's 11:52 at WNBF. Good morning, you're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? You know, I'd like to send a special note of thanks to the phone company. I would call them, but they no longer... Isn't that interesting, the phone company? If you want to call the phone company in Binghamton, they no longer have a number. We're the phone company. Don't call us. Yee. And I think I know why. If I ran a phone company with this level of high-quality service, I don't think I would want to be fielding calls either. Hi, is this the phone company in Binghamton? Yeah, how'd you get our number? I just did. Well, don't ever call again. Click. Same with the post office. Same with almost every place except WNBF. WNBF is one of the few places that you can call and get a live person. I'm honest. If you try to call almost anything else around here, a store, most stores, can you get a live person? Probably not. The newspaper, can you get a live person at the newspaper? Doubt it. If you get a live person, he's probably in the Philippines. But I know you can't fight progress. Good morning, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Bob. It's Beverly.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, that thing was fabulous yesterday. That place up the Tioga Downs, they had all kind of exotic animals and different things. I mean, it was really good. Now yesterday was free, so next week you got to pay. So my friend and I, we thought that we might take her grandchildren. Of course, they're 10 and 12 years old. So we're going back next week.
All right. Do they have any aardvarks?
What?
Aardvark. Did they have any little aardvarks? They're cute, but you don't usually see that many around here. They're mainly, I think, down south, like Texas.
I'm not sure what they are.
Yeah, the name is from a South African word meaning earth pig. They're cute. They look like a pig because they have a pig-like body and a snout, but they actually, according to the internet, share common ancestors with elephants and golden moles.
Yeah, they're cute though.
Yeah. You remember Tony Russell?
Yes.
He used to love aardvarks. He had aardvarks in his office. Not live ones, but like little knickknacks and everything. Aardvarks were his favorite thing.
Yeah. Well, that was nice. It was a nice day to go and stuff. And
they also...
Actually, I walked in with my upper walker, so that made me feel good.
All right. Well, I'm glad you were able to go. Maybe when you go again, maybe they'll have an aardvark named Aaron.
With me. Oh, hey, can you buy I have a Polaroid camera, and do they still sell
film?
I
think they might on the internet. Hey, that's all the time we have for today. Hope you have a good afternoon. I'm Bob Joseph. I will be back tomorrow morning with Binghamton Now on WNBF.